Hey yo, what is good, everybody? Welcome to Yo a Nerd, and this is another conversation with creators. And today I have Chuck with me. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing good, Malcolm. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too, man. It's good to see you too. So if you could just give a little quick introduction and tell us about yourself.
Sure, I am a comic writer and creator. I got into business quite a few years ago. Did work for some small publishers, then started my own company, Visionary,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been everything from a creative studio to a digital publisher. We worked on licensed books. We worked with folks to create custom comics for their businesses and for producers, etc. So a lot of work for hire. Um, Had some cool gigs with some cool professionals that have become friends, which has been nice. And now I'm shifting gears and really focusing on my own books that I create and write and work with a fantastic team of artists to come up with. And now that's our line, the Visionary Creation, coming from Visionary. And it's our second book that we're kickstarting now. So very exciting times.
Oh, that's dope. It sounds like it's a lot of work, though.
It is. You know what they say about if you love what you do, it's never work. Well,
It's never worked. Yeah.
it's work. It has its moments. It's fun. I won't argue that it's the best job in the world. But yeah, it's maintaining a business and juggling multiple projects is yeah, keeps me busy and out of
Keeps-
trouble mostly.
So right now, you're kind of in the thick of it as a creator. So how's everything going for you?
Going good. I'm very excited about what we've got going. I've got a great team that I'm working with on multiple series. We kickstarted one book that you highlighted when we were doing our campaign, The Night. We
Mhm.
did that the fall of last year. We had a little bit of delay in kind of figuring out some logistics with all the changes going on in supply chains and printing and everything else.
Mhm.
But our second book is now up, and we've got two more different series in production. So we're kind of diving in on the deep end here, cranking out books, and um, I'm working with great artists that are loving the books they're working on, and it's a dream come true. So very good times.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. So right now you have a Kickstarter out right now. So called Monarch of Manhattan. So let's talk about that a little bit.
All right. Fun story with this book. It was actually commissioned by a new publisher. I won't mention the name, but they were going to debut 20 years ago and commissioned a pulp fantasy book. I was a writer. I was working with Brian Augustin. He was a friend of mine, brought him in on it. We were doing 4 books as a publisher. And the publisher ended up folding. The first 3 issues were penciled. They sat on my shelf for all that time. And now that we're finally moving as a studio, I've gone back, redone the story, tweaked the art, made changes, got it ink colored, and now we're putting on Kickstarter. Monarch is a cool modern pulp fantasy buddy hero superhero adventure. It's got swords and sorcery style fantasy, kind of like a la Robert E. Howard. Um, Comic characters, think Black Panther, Blade, very much so. Lots of action, lots of humor, but it's basically the story of Shakala, who is a prince of an ancient kingdom back in the age of magic and gets transported to modern day Manhattan. And now he
Hmm.
has to figure out his place in this new world and still hunt down his arch enemy, Damon Thorn, right there, the wizard.
Right. Yeah, so man, this story, you let me read it, and I read it today actually, and this story is dope, bruh. So I have a good couple questions about this story, right? But first, as like a creator, I wanted to ask you, um, why did you decide to put this out as a volume first instead of doing the single issues?
Well, that's a good question. I've gone back and forth about doing that. I like doing
Hmm.
a larger volume simply because I think that's a better value. When you're doing the smaller
Hmm.
comics, you really got to charge a higher price to cover your printing costs. The larger the product you're printing, it gets cheaper to publish or it gets cheaper to print per page. So doing a larger volume, you charge more, the customer gets better value. Plus, it's much easier to ship via media mail. As long as you don't have advertisements in it, it still qualifies as a book, as a full volume. Sometimes comic floppies do not. So I just think all around, I like to provide value to our customers. And I think, we always give make the first issue available for free. So folks checking out the campaign, they can get the first 32-page issue of Monarch free, thoroughly check out the story before they make the investment on the full book. So we want to make sure that what they get is something good they can keep on their bookshelf and really enjoy.
Mm. And why is that like something that you that is like one of your principles, like showing, making sure they get what they want? Why is that something that is the forefront of what you do?
Well, as a creator, the secret is we can't do any of this, especially for a living, without the fans.
Right.
Our customers are our lifeblood. The fans are our lifeblood, and it's you know one of the big reasons a creator creates and puts their work out in the world is that they want to find people that work will resonate with.
Mm.
We don't do it for our own pleasure. I mean, maybe some stuff, but when we're putting it out into the world, we're wanting to find the people that it resonates with, that it speaks to, that enjoy it and keep coming back for more. So it's practical from a business angle. It's also really getting into the heart and soul of what art is about presenting to people that will enjoy it and get something out of it.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. It sounds like you really just trying to please your fans and build like a true fan base.
Yes, very much so, because we've got a lot of plans. All our books are set in a shared setting, so we're doing multiple
Mm-hmm.
projects. I've got audio dramas out, got pro stuff that we've got in development. So yeah, want a fan base that loves what we're doing and really gets into it. We want to create a world setting that really draws people in, that they want to start putting together the pieces of the puzzle and figuring out how this connects to that. And I was a big fan of CrossGen. I don't know if you remember CrossGen. You may be too young to remember CrossGen.
No, I don't. Haven't heard of it.
Okay, it was a small publisher that really started competing with DC and Marvel. Had a rich
Hmm.
guy that founded it. He hired top talent, but they had a very tight knit, interconnected universe, and the books were just amazing, all kinds of genres and stuff. So I was a big fan of that because I'm the kind of guy that likes to. I want to dig into a story. I want to put the pieces together. I want to see that there's more out there than what I'm just reading on the surface, and that's the kind of books we're trying to create.
Okay, okay. So that actually, let's talk about Monarch of Manhattan. So with you saying that, there's a couple things in this book that I definitely want to talk about. So there is, for one, I want to give you big on props on the detective side, like the cops in this book. So big shout outs to that, because I love how the cops in your books really sit down. There's a scene in where the cops sit down and they kind of talk out what is going on, because they're looking for their, I don't want to spoil it too much, but they're looking for somebody in the comic, right? And then so they kind of sit
Yes.
down and talk it out. And I kind of wanted to ask you, when you were writing that scene, is that kind of something that was that like you talking to yourself, like, hey, if they were going to try to find this person in the comic, how would they go about this? They had to talk this out. Was that kind of you talking to yourself and then putting that into the comic?
Absolutely. I always say all my characters reflect a little piece of me somewhere, and our detectives, who are very much a very important part of the book, they are trying to figure things out, and they're kind of we've got a number of characters that kind of fit the everyman position. They're the normal
Mm-hmm.
people in a normal world who are trying to figure out really weird stuff, and they have to come up with the answers to it, and they're doing it analytically from a distance, um, as opposed to our second main character, Harold Harrington, who becomes sidekick to our main protagonist. He's the everyday guy that gets fully swept up into it, absorbed in his life, gets turned upside down. But our police detectives are the ones on the outside who are looking at the aftermath more than anything, and trying to piece it together. And that flows through uh, the entire series, and we'll be keeping up with that.
Okay. Also, I want to talk about a little bit more about your main character, who I want to show off here. Just want to share my screen real quick. So your main character, right? So your main character, I really want to talk about him because he is really dope, and he reminds me. He The easy answer is to say like Black Panther is what he reminds me of, but not so much. So I kind of wanted to ask you, what was your inspiration for your main character and his storyline?
Well, I make no secret that I'm a comic fan, lifelong comic fan. I think it's impossible for me to create a comic that doesn't have a touch of influence from the things that and the characters and the settings that I enjoyed. When I was first creating Monarch, Blade was the movie series that was the Marvel of the day. It was before the MCU, before the big Infinity Stone saga. It was when Blade was pretty much
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, and so he was a big inspiration. I was also always a big fan of the Black Panther, and I wanted to create a character that kind of echoed both of them, but also
Mm.
took in unique twists. Um, and so, yeah, Shakala is the prince of an empire. Wuangala was his kingdom, but by having it displaced in time and bringing him forward, he's much more a stranger in a strange land than either of
Mm-hmm.
those two, because they came from their own space and had their own backstory, but they were both part of the modern world. Shakala is kind of like, is very much a time displaced character. So it was also an inspiration from some of I was also always a big Robert E. Howard fan. I love classic swords and sorcery fantasy. So that definitely played into my interest. Um, and the dynamic between Shakala and Harold really I see as kind of the buddy cop formula, like they used to have movies with the crazy cop and the sane cop, or the wild person and the normal person. This is that's Harold right there after he's being mugged, and so
Mm-hmm.
these two guys kind of have that same dynamic and brings a lot of humor into it as well. But yeah, Shakala is a number of things boiled together. Probably the most challenging character I've ever written, and I love it for that. He really makes me work. He is one of the things about him that we will let folks know is he is super intelligent. He is super
Mm-hmm.
intelligent. That really shows on how quickly he adapts and starts adapting to the modern world, which you'll see in the book. I don't want to spoil it too much, but writing someone who was born destined to be an emperor of the mightiest kingdom of his age, a person who's been taught statecraft and how to rule with authority, and then thrust into a strange world, and there's this genius, is a character that I really, you really, to do it justice, you need to kind of dig in there and put all those pieces together and figure out where you're going to go with it. And it's been a joy to write.
Yeah, man, and it was definitely a joy to read too. So, this was so before you came on, I had asked you if there's anything I couldn't ask you, and you said I could ask you whatever. So, this is the question that made me ask you that. So, there is a scene in the book where him and Harold are having a conversation, right? And then he kind of just goes in on Harold. Like he kind of goes in on Harold and like this our whole world and time of today that causes a really big switch in the main character. And I really wanted to ask you about that. Like what was your thought process in going into that scene, and what was the driving force and to throw in that twist, especially at that point in the comic?
Well, that's a good question, and I do want to be careful. I don't want to give too much away, but
Right. Yeah, I was trying not to give too
basically,
much away while asking.
one of the big themes that I always try to make my stories have more to them than just entertainment. Entertainment is
Hmm.
first and foremost, but for me, the fiction I've always enjoyed most are the stories that have a deeper meaning, a deeper sense of asking important questions, putting out thoughts about how life is, etc. So one of the big questions I'm wrestling with in Monarch of Manhattan is what really defines a civilization, and what makes for the best civilization that you can have. And fictionally, we have Shikala, who comes from an ancient time. Wollongala is a mighty empire, but it is what you probably call a tribal based, very primitive kind of culture.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think most people look at that and assume, oh, they're simpler than us. You know, our civilization is better. But I wanted to take Shikala, who comes from a culture where they have principles of caring for others. Rulers look to empower their people, all their people, make sure everyone is cared for. Very different set of standards than we see a lot in our modern world. So Shikala is being that stranger in a strange land, is looking at our world through a new set of eyes. He's not numb to the way things have always been because it's not the way it's been for him. So now he can look at our world and
Mm.
say, well, wait a second. Why do you have all these resources, but you have starving people? Why do you have all this opportunity in land, but yet people are constantly fighting in wars? Why, he asks all these questions that a lot of us have just stopped asking because it's always been that way. And that's really his driving force, is that he accepts this is now his world, and he's not going to settle for letting it be the way it is. So that becomes his mission. And I
Mm.
probably said more than I should, but hey,
No, no, I think you did a
I
great
think people.
job of
Okay,
telling the story without telling what happens. Like that was you did a great job of that.
thank you. I try.
So, no, no, you killed that. You did a great job of that. Like I was trying to ask the question, so I didn't give too much away. But reading it, the second it happened, I was like, oh, I gotta ask him this. Like I broke down straight in my notes, like I gotta ask him that because I think that was an I think that was an exceptional twist. And I think one thing I'm big on the experience of reading the comic book, like the experience you go through while reading it. And while reading it, I was not expecting that twist. And it from that point on, it really puts you on like the edge of your seat for the rest of the comic. So big ups on that and like the experience because it was, and that's why I didn't want to spoil it because I want other people that read it to have that same experience.
Yeah, I think folks still will. Still will. It's because yeah, it was a great scene to write. It was a hard scene to write. It was a little challenging because it made me dig kind of deep too, and ask some questions that I need to ask. And but yeah, I think that is a theme that carries through. So we will see more of that dynamic.
Okay, I'm definitely looking forward to it. So let's get back to talking more about your Kickstarter, which I'll share again. So for your Kickstarter, I kind of want to talk to you about the rewards and stuff that you have available for your Kickstarter. So can you go into a little bit about that?
Sure. I try to keep the campaigns kind of simple and streamlined and not overwhelm
Hmm.
people. So basically, you can get it is a collected edition, like you mentioned. It's 3 issues worth of comics. We will be
Hmm.
releasing the individual issues digitally, so it is broken into issue chapters. But you can get it on digital. You can
Hmm.
read on your devices, which we'll be doing fulfillment through Drive-Through Comics. You can get a soft cover, which just has the story, and it's 100 pages of comics, or the hardcover that also contains a lot of additional supplemental content, kind of behind the scenes stuff as well as world building stuff. There's news magazine articles about some of the characters, so you get to know them better. There's letters from different characters, so it's kind of this additional stuff that gives you more insight into the world. And it came up with some neat stuff with that I think folks will enjoy. So if you're into that, the hardcover is definitely where you want to go. And then we have bundles where you can also get an art print collection that is all the individual issue covers that we did. Plus, we'll be adding some more stretch goals, hopefully, um, and also a collector bundle where you get not only Monarch, but you get our 64-page preview book that we did, the
Hmm.
2024-2025 preview book, which featured first featured the Knight and Monarch, but also our upcoming series Soulstar and Legend of Fireman. So you get glimpses of all the 4 series we have in development. Um, and then we also offer a big participation thing too, where you can get yourself immortalized as a character in an upcoming Visionary story. May or may not be Monarch. We again, we have different stuff that we're developing, but if you go for that tier, basically what happens is we set up a one-on-one Zoom meeting with myself. You have a lot of input in your character. We kind of see where that character might best fit, where it might do them justice, but also really work with the story that we're doing. And you get free copies of everything that your character appears in, and you keep ownership of your character. Essentially, you then license the character to us. So we've had a number of people that went for that for the night, and I've talked with most of those folks and started the ball rolling on their stuff, and it's really been fun, and it's been really cool how it's blended well. So that's pretty much our tiers, unless I'm missing something. But yeah, it's
All I
we
see
try to
is this
keep it
bottom
simple.
one.
Oh, the yes, retailer bundles. We are hoping to get
Mhm.
retailers on board. So there are, thank you for pointing that out, Malcolm. We have three tiers there where you can get 10 copies of Monarch, or you can get 10 copies of the Knight, or you can get 5 copies of both. So those are all at 50% discount. Retailers, obviously, they have to show some evidence that they are actual retailers, so we know they're legit. But we love local comic shops. I would love to be able to get our books into local comic shops, and that is a plan. But for these campaigns, this is a way I think we can support those comic shops, and hopefully retailers will check out our books and like what they see, and anything we can do to help sell the books if you buy them, definitely would be interested in doing. So yeah, we'll see how that
Hey,
goes.
that's dope. Well, so far the campaign has reached its goal, I believe. I can go to the top. I
Yes,
believe you guys reached your goal.
yes, we funded in less than 12 hours.
Oh, less than 12, bruh. Claps to you, bruh.
Yes,
That's dope. That is dope.
yes, we funded before I went to bed, which was good because that meant I slept much better that first night. uh,
I bet you did. Uh, Also, I wanted to talk to you. I love your Kickstarter campaigns. I backed the night and I also backed this one. I wanted to talk to you about how you put together your Kickstarter campaigns and the thought process behind that.
well, wow, it's always a learning experience, and I'm always learning new stuff and
Hmm.
realizing stuff I probably should have done different. Like even for example, even just with the night, we offered. I try to put out a different kind of deal for retailers, and they obviously just weren't interested in the way that was set up. So now we're doing something different. So every time I make changes, but my goals is I want to focus on creating something that's simple and streamlined for folks. I know most folks want to go in, they want to back a campaign, and they want to get a book. Yes, there are some folks that are very avidly read every update and they participate in the campaigns, but a lot of folks like myself, I have to be honest, I will go in, I want to find what I want to find, I want to get the book, I want to get the main story, and I want to get out because I got other stuff to do.
I
um
feel you.
so we're trying to make that accommodating to those. At the same time, I want to present on the story enough detail that people can really get a feel for what the book is, what we're doing with it, where it will go, and also who we are behind it. I always like putting a spotlight on the people creating the books, because I
Hmm.
think that's important, to recognize the talent that are making this happen. And we've got a great team of artists. Jose Aviles did the pencils, Rudy Sacipto on the inks, Paul Little on the colors, and Jacob Basco on the letters. Those guys deserve a spotlight because it's a great looking book, and that's because of them. I just wrote words. So want to introduce those folks, and also want to create as much community as I can with the folks that want to do that. So I do regular updates. We call our backers and fans visionaries, and
Hmm.
I try to keep those lighthearted and energetic, and we also ask for folks' help. Like we ask folks to help promote the campaign if they back the campaign. Um, I've learned a lot from different campaigns that I have seen from folks that I helped out with, who did their
Hmm.
own campaigns. I've also learned a lot. Tyler James has a group called Comics Launch, and that's for indie comic creators, and they essentially pool their resources to kind of help each other out. And they have a lot of resources you can get. So you should check them out online. They're on Facebook a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, Are you familiar with them?
No, no, I said I'm gonna check them out. I the name
Oh,
sounds
okay.
familiar, but I'm gonna look them up. Definitely after
It
this.
it's actually comics with an X. So
Okay.
COMIX launch. And it is great for indie creators. I
Comics.
learned a lot
Okay.
from that, and I'm still digging through all their podcasts and interviews and everything else about it. So I learned a lot there, and just try to come up with stuff that works, and hopefully each one does better than the last. So
Right.
far, so
That's
good.
cool. Yeah, so far so good. Definitely. I mean, you got backed in 12 hours, so that is definitely good.
Yes, and we always set a low goal. I have been setting a low goal because we are still building trust. I know,
Hmm.
this is only our second campaign of this phase. I've done other campaigns on licensed books. I had a couple campaigns that unfortunately did not materialize. Um, that I learned a lot since then. So I know we're building trust with the fan base that we have, and we're building that fan base. So I've set lower goals so that we do fund faster, but also so that people know it's coming, and
Hmm.
they're not pledging and wondering whether it's going to make it or not.
Mm.
Um, but you know, at the end of the day, if I cover my printing and shipping costs and all that, I'm happy. And then I also know I've got books that I can sell and digitally publish and hopefully build more of an audience with over time. So
Okay. So that kind of leads me into my next question. So your first Kickstarter was the Knight, and the Knight
yes,
is mentioned in the Monarch book, but very briefly, he's mentioned in Monarch. So I wanted to
yes,
ask you about the universe you're building because you also have the two other books that are coming up. So how could you talk
yeah.
more about the universe that you're building as a whole?
Yes. It's actually the shared setting is called the Visionary Creation,
Hmm.
and it's more than just a universe. It's actually we've got well, it's a different kind of comic universe. It's actually a transmedia universe because, like I said, we already have 7 audio dramas that have been produced set in it. We've got a prose short story that was published that's set during the Old West. Um, our shared setting has multiple universes. We have some characters that travel through universes. So we have a group of characters called the Everlasting who can move from one universe to another. Soulstar is our cosmic superhero. I don't want to talk too much about him, but he travels from universe to universe. And then we've got the Visionary Universe, which is our core main setting. And that's where the rest of our books take place, like Knight, Monarch, and Legend of Fire takes place in that same age of magic that Shakala comes from. So all the
Mm.
books have a continuous history, but we're going to do stories that are set in different ages, different times, far future, ancient past, modern day, etc. Um, the Knight and Monarch we're referring to as our first two sister series, in that they have more connections than most. They're both set in the same time. Times overlap a bit. We date everything in the book, so people can see how all that interacts. Um, but there's also a a little surprise connection that exists right from the beginning when you introduce the cast. So people will see that once they've read both books, they'll make that connection. Um, but yeah, those two books will also kind of converge because we're also going to periodically do event collections on Kickstarters, and our first big event collection will be Conspiracy, and it will be a team up between the Knight and Shakala and a few other heroes we'll be introducing. So we
Okay.
got big plans.
No, I like that. You giving people somewhere to, something to look forward to.
That's the hope. That's the hope. This has been my pet project that I've wanted to do most all my adult life. So I have lots of plans, lots of cool stuff that I want to get other creators involved, and we hope to really grow it and do some fun stuff with it. And it's just the start. So this campaign, you can really get it on the ground floor of our Age of Heroes.
Okay. And then so what is next? What is after? I mean, this campaign. is good. I know you still got more ways to go. And also anybody watching this video, the link to that campaign will be in the description. So please go back this campaign. So definitely help this creator out. But what is next? What is going on next for Visionary?
Well, after Monarch, we'll be kickstarting the first volume of Soulstar, which is complete
Mm,
and ready to go. All our books are done before the campaign launches. Um,
mhm.
and then we'll probably be doing a double header Kickstarter for volume 2 of both the Knight and Monarch, both books. So to help people with shipping, I'll cut on shipping costs. If they like both, they can go ahead and back both in one campaign or choose one or the other.
Right.
And then Legend of Firemane will probably be after that, as we've had a little bit of delay with the artist having another job that he's finishing, but he's almost done. So I don't want to lock that in yet, but that will definitely be in 2026, and that's our Dwarven War story. It's a epic kind of dark fantasy battle scene. So, um, and then after that, we just plan to do more of the ongoing series, the 3 ongoing series we have. Firemane is a mini series, and then we're going to be getting into prose in 2026 as well with some anthologies.
Mm.
So lots
Anthologies.
of
Are
fun.
these anthologies set in the Visionary universe with like Knight and Monarch?
Yes, yes.
Hey.
Everything I do will be set in that setting because that's just been what I've been playing with forever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's some stories. I should say there's some stories that they're kind of fit off in their own universe, but even they have connections to other stuff. So I'm one of those nerds. I
Right.
love bigger worlds. I love complex worlds. I love worlds that just feel like they've got history, they've got culture, they've got variation and diversity and just the whole 9 yards.
Yes.
So yeah, and want to do some prose and comics anthologies. One of the projects that we had planned some time ago, and then I had to shelve because of personal stuff I plan to circle back to, and that's going to be an epic comics anthology that we're going to have some major name talent attached to, if they'll come back on board, which I hope they will. I think they will. So I can't wait to announce that, but that will hopefully be sometime in 2026 as well. We'll see.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, so I just realized we've been talking about what you're doing now. How long have you been doing this as a whole, like as a comic creator?
I have been working in the industry for close to 20 years now.
Mm.
I first started with, wow, where did I first? I first started with the publisher that originally commissioned Monarch.
Mhm.
Um, I was paid to write and develop 2 books, and I worked with another smaller publisher and a studio, mostly doing business stuff, but started dipping into creative. But then I launched Visionary as a creative services studio. So we've been doing work for hire projects for all kinds of clients ever since 2006. Yes, 2006. So, um, and those clients have ranged from grocery stores that want to do a 6-page comic handout flyer to introduce their store. We had superheroes fighting in the vegetable produce aisles. Um, to working with Hollywood producers that want to do a graphic novel based on their screenplay to help pitch to movie studios. We've worked with celebrities to do custom art for their websites. So it's been a great ride. I've enjoyed it. I've worked on a ton of other books. Or had a lot of fun. We got the license to Deadlands, which is a weird Western role playing game from Pinnacle Entertainment. We published a number of books for that. We just got the license back, so we'll be releasing those books in digital publishing. And that was fun. I wrote several books for that, including bringing Billy the Kid into that world. Wrote the definitive story for their major arch villain Raven, and helped also did a graphic novel that would introduce a new setting in the game that I got to help get the ground floor established. So that was real fun. That's being kickstarted by Pinnacle later this year. And it will be neat. So people, if you're a Deadlands fan, you definitely need to check out the Deadlands comics. They're great. So yeah,
Hey, sounds
I've
like
been
you
in a
got a
while.
lot. Yeah. Dang. It
Yeah,
sounds, but it sounds fun. That all that sounds so fun.
It is. It is. It's almost, it's almost shocking how fun it is. And, yet you can make money. Not a lot of money, but no, it's been a good, successful career. And I have to say, the studio has done very well. Um, and I'm very happy with that. So yeah, it's shocking how much fun you can have and enjoy what you're doing and still make a living off of it, which is really cool.
That is dope. But it's probably not as, rewarding as, doing like your own stuff like you're doing now.
Yes. It's
Right.
not. I love it and I will keep doing it. But yeah, I originally got into comics so I could do my own stuff. And now 20
Right.
years later, here I am. I'm finally doing my own stuff. So yes, as some of my friends who've been sharing the campaign point of it's like he's finally got around to doing his own stuff. So I'm really hoping it does well.
No, no. I mean, it's doing. Looks like it's doing well so far. It's. I mean, I saw your. I think I saw. I think I first saw your ads on Facebook, or maybe I think it was maybe Facebook. I saw on there, and you were promoting the night, which looked phenomenal. And then from that, I think what really captured me was you guys your preview. Your preview, you put out a preview that you sent out, and it gave you like a preview of everything that was to come. And before I even went through the preview, the fact that you had that full preview PDF, I was like, okay, I'm kind of already into this universe already. And so that was dope.
Cool.
And I kind of wanted to ask you about that. Like we kind of spoke on it earlier about, like you gaining fans and building trust with the fans. What was the overall thought process to doing a preview like that?
Well, I definitely wanted to show that we had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
That we weren't just a single book with big promises of what's to come, but that, all four series were in development. Um, and I wanted to show that, we were committed to this in the long term by having an investment in it, and also just show the variety of what we're doing. We're not going to be another kind of Marvel setting or DC setting where all the heroes are in the same world at the same time and all that big kind of stuff that we're doing. Fantasy stories, we're doing sci-fi, um, but also just I've kind of I have a number of projects that I want to do. My philosophy of which project I choose is the ones that find the perfect artist. So I was lucky to
Mm.
find, the perfect artist for these four series, to move them forward at the right time and find ways to connect those. And that's I wanted to make sure that the people knew the quality of the talent that I was working with on it. And the only way to do that was to show bits and pieces of everything.
Mm. I like that thought process. I mean, it worked on me. I'm a prime
That's what I
example.
love to
So,
hear.
right. That's dope. Well, Chuck, that is all the questions that I have for you. So, could you give the people like where they could find you, where they could find your stuff, and find Visionary, and also, big up the Kickstarter?
Yes. You can find everything about the studio and myself at our main site, which is at visionarycomics.com.
Hmm.
Um, there's also a number of other URLs that you can get to the same site, but visionarycomics.com is the most appropriate. And if you want to go directly to the campaign, we have a dedicated URL for all of our Kickstarters. That's thevisionarycreation.com. So whatever our latest campaign is, that link will take you to that. We're also on social media.
Hmm.
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. The studio is as well. We do regular posts. So if you just Google C. Edward Sellner and Google Visionary Comics, you'll find a lot. But if you go to our main site, we also list all our social media on the sidebar. And we have a newsletter that we send out on a regular basis. So if you want to stay up to date, the best way
Hmm.
is to subscribe, and that's right on the sidebar of the site. And then you can read all about us and what we've done, and we have a published products page that has over 300 pages of free comics, including the first issues of all of our series. You can download for free, and we even have a resources page for creators for things like template contracts, etc. So So try to make the site very useful for a wide variety of folks. That's the place to go.
Hey,
Yes.
that sounds dope. That sounds dope. So
Thank,
before we get out of here, everybody, please, that is watching this video, please, I'm gonna share it right now. Go check out his kicks. Don't just go check. Go back this Kickstarter today. As a person who has read this story, it is a very dope story that has a twist in it that it, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's a
cool.
twist that keeps you directly on the edge of your seat. So definitely go check this campaign out. The link will be in the description. So please check this campaign out.
Thank you.
But Chuck, I want to. Oh yeah, no problem, Chuck. No problem. I want to thank you for coming on, and I think you this interview did you dropped a lot of gems of not just for you for your fans. I think for also comic book creators as a whole. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your time with us.
My pleasure. Anytime. I'd love to come back.
Hey,
Thank
definitely,
you.
definitely. Yeah, no problem, no problem. Well, thank y'all for watching. This has been another episode of Yo and Nerd, conversation with creators. Like I said, please go back this campaign today. Thank y'all.
Thank you.